All right, I'm going to go over 1 through 6 on the SLO review packet. It's just a review that covers the full year of Algebra 2. So number 1, it says solve the inequality, then graph your solution, show your work. So when we do absolute value, remember absolute value has 2 answers. So what you do is you write down the first one, x plus 9 greater than 3. Okay, then you write down the second one, you flip the sign and make that 3 negative. So you'll have x plus 9, flip the sign, and make that 3 negative. Remember, never touch the left side. You should not be changing anything on that left side. That x plus 9, no changing. I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. So early in the morning, I can't even do 3 minus 9. All right, I get negative 6. Subtract 9 over here, I get 9, 10, 11, 12, negative 12. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those numbers on the number line. Negative 12 will be coming first, and then negative 6 will come second. Okay, so remember, if you do not have the lines underneath, it's an open circle. So I got an open circle on negative 12 and an open circle on negative 6. Honestly, you can usually just shade where these inequalities are pointing. Okay, so this one is pointing to the right, so I know this one is going to go to the right. This one is pointing to the left, so I know this is going to go to the left. When it's on either side like this and not in the middle, that is an OR problem. Okay? All right, let's go over to B. Again, it has 2 answers. I'm going to write down the first one, which is just 9 minus 4x less than or equal to 5. Now remember, when you write down the second one, you flip the sign and you make it negative. So 9 minus 4x, flip the sign and make it negative. Again, don't ever touch the left side of the equation. Okay, now I'm going to do all the work. So I'm going to subtract 9 first. So when I subtract 9 from 5, I get negative 4. Now, here's a scary part. Anytime you divide or multiply by a negative number, you have to flip the sign. I'm about to divide by a negative number, so I'm going to flip this sign. And negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1. Okay, so that's just something you got to remember. Anytime you multiply or divide by a negative. Next guy, I'm going to subtract the 9 just like I just did. So I get negative 14. Then again, I am dividing by that negative, so I'm going to flip the sign. Negative 14 divided by negative 4, I'm going to math bracket. It's 7 over 2. And then I'm just going to put it down on my number line. So 7 over 2 will come first, and then 1 will come second. So just like think of a number line. These have the little underline thing, so that is a closed circle. And then again, you can just shade the way it's pointing. So the 1 is pointing over here. And oh my gosh, you guys, like I feel like an idiot. But this is 3.5. So should it be here? No, these two need to be switched. Loser, Miss Wade. All right, that's a 1. This is a 7/2. Totally my bad. All right, so the 1 is pointing this way, and the 7/2 is pointing this way. So it's actually going to be in the middle. Okay, so this is an AND problem. So again, if they're on the outside, it's OR. If it's on the middle, it's AND. And that was totally my bad, guys, because again, I just saw the fraction, and I wasn't thinking. This is 3.5, this is 1, so we know 3.5 is bigger than 1. All right, let's go to number 2. So remember, when you are solving the system by graphing, both equations need to be solved for y, so you can put it over here on your graph. So I'm going to go with this one first. I'm going to first subtract the x, so I'm going to have negative y, negative x plus 3. Okay, so all I did is I moved the x to the other side. That's all I did. Now, because that y has a negative on it, I'm going to divide everybody by negative 1. When you divide by a negative, all it does is switch the signs over here. So this is now an x, and this is now a minus 3. All right, so remember when you graph, you always start with this y-intercept right at negative 3. So I'm going to put a big dot on negative 3 over there. and then you do what the slope tells you to do. Well, this one has a 1 in front of it, so we're going to rise 1, run 1. So rise over run, rise over run, rise over 1. And I'm going to get a lot of dots. You don't want to be stingy with your dots because you need to see where these are going to cross. Okay, so there's the first one. Now we're going to go with this one. So you see the 7x, I'm going to subtract it from both sides. So I'm going to get negative 7x minus 3. And again, this y has a negative on it too. So when I divide by that negative, it just switches all the signs. So this will actually be a positive 7x and a plus 3. And then I'm going to graph it. So remember, start with your y-intercept, which is a 3. And do what this tells you to do. Now this tells you to go up 7 over 1. But like when I look here, I can't go up 7 over 1 because it runs out. So really I'm going to go down 7 over 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 over 1. Yay! There's where it crosses right there. Okay, so once you see where it crosses, you have to tell me the coordinate. Okay, that's the answer. So this is the answer right here. So negative 1, negative 4. So we put that in an ordered pair. And that is the answer. Meaning, like if I took this and I plugged it back into these equations, it would work. All right? So also, before I go to the next two, remember there are 3 things you can get when you're solving. You can get one answer, you can get multiple answers, or you can get no answer. So this time we got one answer at negative 1, 4. All right, let's come down here. We're going to do substitution. Remember, substitution is where you take something and you plug it into the other equation. So what I always like to do is I like to find the variable that doesn't have a number in front of it. So here he is right here. I'm going to move this negative 4y to the other side. So I'll have x equals 4y plus 5. Okay? Then you take this and you plug it in for x on the other equation. So right there. That's where I'm going to put it. So I'm going to have 3, 4y plus 5. I plugged it in. I still have my 7y and I still have my 10. So all you're doing is you'll solve for one and then you'll plug it into the other. That's why it's called the substitution method, because you're literally substituting it. I'm going to do the distributive property here. Okay, I'm going to combine like terms with those y's. So 7, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to get a 5y plus a 15 equals 10. I'm going to subtract that 15, and I get negative 5. And then I'm going to divide by 5, and I get negative 1. All right, now remember, when you are solving by substitution, graphing, things like that, you're going to get an ordered pair. Well, here I only have the y coordinate. So what I do is the one that you solved up here, you just stick that negative 1 back in here. So 4 times negative 1 plus 5. So we're going to end up as our x equals 1. So let me write it in an ordered pair, 1, negative 1, and it's finished. So again, how I got this x is I plugged this negative 1 right in there. 4 times negative 1 plus 5. That gives you the 1. All right, so that's substitution. Now, elimination is where you write them on top of each other. So let's go ahead and write them on top of each other. 5x minus 2y equals negative 15. And then you have 7x plus 5y equals 18. And what you want to do is you want to eliminate one of your variables. So what I like to do is first look at the smaller one. Is there something times 5 to give you 7? No. Is there something times 2 to give you 5? No. So if you say no both times, that means you're probably going to have to multiply by 2 different things. So what I'm going to do is I always like to take the smaller numbers. So I'm going to get rid of the y's. So what you do is you just multiply the top by the bottom number. So I'm going to multiply the top equation by 5. And then see how this one has a 2? I'm going to multiply the bottom equation by 2. So remember, when you multiply through, you multiply by all things get multiplied by 5. All things get multiplied by 2. It's kind of like the distributive property. So 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 2 is 10. And because I'm feeling lazy, I'm going to put 15 times 5 in my calculator and get 75. All right, now for the next one, I'm going to multiply everybody by 2. 2 times 17, 2 times 5, and 2 times 18. So, see what happens when you do that? See this middle guy right here? It is going to end up going away. Now, in order for it to go away, when they're different signs like this, you add them. So I'm going to end up adding these. So 25 and 14 is 39. When I add the negative 10 and the 10, it goes away, cancels out. When I do negative 75 plus 36, I get negative 39. So then again, when I divide by 39, I'm going to get a negative 1. When I do these problems, again, you have to have an ordered pair. So right here, yes, I have the x-coordinate. Awesome. So what I have to do with this x-coordinate is I have to plug it into one of the equations in order to find the y-coordinate. So I'm just going to plug it in the top one. That's what I always do, but you can plug it into whatever you want. So 5, and I got negative 1 for x, minus 2y equals negative 15. So again, all I'm doing right here is plugging it in. So I'm going to get a negative 5. Okay, I'm going to add the 5 to both sides, get negative 10, and then divide by negative 2. That is how I'm going to get the 5, which is how I'm going to get the ordered pair of negative 1, 5. Okay, so see how that kind of works? So those are the 3 things that I would bet, like on your little test that you're going to take, you'll have at least one of those. All right, sorry, I was getting a drink. Number 5. For number 5, the piecewise, remember all you do for piecewise is you're going to set up an XY chart and only do what they ask you. So let's set up a table for this one. Okay, so this one says I want numbers that are less than negative 2. So you start with negative 2. You always start with whatever number is right here. And then you want numbers less than it. So negative 3 and negative 4. Okay, you need 3 numbers. I'm going to plug these numbers into the little equation so that I can get the y-coordinate. So I'm going to put the negative 2 in here. So 2 times negative 2 plus 2. I get negative 2. Then I'm going to do 2 times negative 3 plus 2. And I get negative 4. Okay, then I'm going to do 2 times negative 4, and I'm going to get negative 6. So this is your first graph. Now, you're going to, when you graph these, you got to look over here. See how this one doesn't have the line under it? That means this first point is going to be an open circle. So here we go. Negative 2, open circle right there. Okay, negative 3, negative 4, negative 4, negative 6, and then just draw your line. Probably should have done all of them first so I could have counted differently, but it's fine. Now, for this one, see how this one doesn't have an X over here? You don't have to do a table because there's no variable. Anytime you have just a number, that's just a straight line. That's all it is. It's a horizontal line. So it's right at 3. So here's 3 right here. But you only want your graph going from negative 2 to 3. Now here's the thing. Look and see what's going on. So the negative 2 has a closed circle. So when we go on the negative 2, that should be a closed circle right there. Make sure you're up here at 3 because that's where you should be because this says a 3 right here. So I've got negative 2 with a closed circle, and I want to go to 3, and look, this one has an open circle. So I want to go to 3 with an open circle. There he is. Beautiful. All right, look, this one has an X, so that means I am definitely doing a chart. They set it up backwards so that you would have to kind of focus here. Okay, so it says X is greater than or equal to 3. So again, remember, start out with your number, and then you want 2 more that are greater than. So I'm going to do 4 and 5. Okay, this one's going to be easy to plug in because when we plug them in, all it's going to do is turn everybody negative. So this is going to be a -3, -4, and -5. Now, is this one going to be a closed or open circle? Closed. Look, see how it's got the line under it? So we're going 3 and then -3. Closed circle. 4 and -4. 5 and -5. All right, there it is. So remember, when you're doing piecewise, you're just doing a little chart for each individual thing. And if it doesn't have a variable, it's going to be a straight line every time. Okay? All right, last one, and then there'll be videos. There'll be other videos for the other ones. So what we do here is we're going to graph this over here. We're not going to use our calculator. We're going to first, you're going to tell me kind of what the transformations make it do. So remember, this number out here, this one right here, that is a vertical stretch of 2. All right, so remember, if this is a fraction, it's going to be a shrink. Let's go inside. Remember, inside controls the left and the right. The minus is the right. So this is right 1. Okay? This out here, this is your up and down. And because it's a minus, that is a down 1. Oh, down 1, down 4. All right, now your parent function for this guy, remember the absolute value is a v when you graph it. Okay, the parent function is -1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1. So that's your parent function. It's the guy that you start with. And then what we're going to do is this parent function, we're going to move it, we're going to stretch it, we're going to move it to the right, and we're going to move it down. So let's first stretch it. When you stretch it, who does that control, the x or the y coordinate when you're stretching? The y coordinate. So that means I'm going to multiply all y's by 2. 1 times 2, 0 times 2, 1 times 2. Okay, so I've done the stretch. I'm just kind of checking them off. I'm going to go ahead and do the right because that controls the x's, and I can go ahead and just quickly do the x's. So when I'm doing right 1, right is a plus word, okay? When you're moving right, you're going to the positive numbers. So I'm going to add 1 to all my x's. -1 plus 1, 0 plus 1, and 1 plus 1. Got them. Now, last guy is I'm going to subtract 4, because down is a subtraction word. Subtract 4, down is your y coordinates. So I'm going to subtract 4 to all the y's. So 2 minus 4 is -2. 0 minus 4 is -4. 2 minus 4 is -2. Okay? These are the points that you graph over here. Okay? So I'm going to go 0, -2. 1, -4. And then 2, -2. And then again, this is an absolute value graph. An absolute value graph is not a parabola, it's a V. So draw your V. And there he is. Okay, so again, this is 1 through 6. There'll be another video for 7 through 21, and then there's another video for 22 through the end of the review. All right, good luck, guys.